Hi folks, welcome to this next tutorial. What I'm going to do today is actually going to do a landscape. We'll pick something simple to start with, but first, before I do that, we're going to have to do a couple of exercises using the colours that I'm going to use, or rather the lack of colours that I'm going to use, because and I think it's important to emphasise once again how important tone is. So, and I do this quite a lot. I even for the stuff that I've sold, I sometimes just use the two colours I'm going to mention now, which I've already mentioned before. Let's go over it again, because it is important. Ultramarine blue, which is a foundation for a lot of things. Ultramarine blue and burnt umber. I've got the burnt umber here separately. It's an artist quality one. And also, I also at the end, like I did with the leaves, I use a bit of white. And you might think that's limited, but let's just do a little bit of investigation and see what tones and colours we can get just from those two colours. Okay, using the Papermate non-stop retractable pencil, which I always use these. They're an HB and you don't have to sharpen them. I'm just going to do a few lines and actually just do a few squares and just as something to paint in, to look at different tones and such like with the two colours we're going to use. That'll do. Maybe a couple of other lines through, just to give an impression of something. And here I've got my trusty old Brownie watercolour box and some water and just a couple of brushes, same as before. Just going to quickly mix up some ultramarine blue. Oops. Fairly strong. And then in this other palette, some burnt umber. Now, as I've said before, burnt umber you can consider to be orange, in that the main components really of the brownish colour are red and yellow. Okay, let's do some painting and see what we can do with these. Okay, here we go. First off, I'm just going to put the blue as is. Oop. Bear with me. Fairly strong. If it looks blobby, leave it. It's fine. Let it look blobby. That's this blue, fairly strong. And as you gradually add more water, obviously it gets lighter. I'm just doing this to show the different colours. I'm using kitchen paper again to effectively blot things and lighten them. Just got them very light there, and then we'll do the one beneath in the burnt umber. That's not dark enough really to show the full colour, isn't it? Let's darken it a bit. You'll read a lot of things about people saying that watercolour you can't mess with it, that you put it down and then you can't touch it. That's, in one sense it's true, but you'll see from these videos that I do, I knock it about, give it a bit of treatment. You can get away with a great deal. Make that one a little darker. Make this one lighter. Okay, now let's start mixing the two colours together. First off, I'm just mixing burnt umber and blue, more or less 50-50, to get a very dark colour. So there is a very dark, it's slightly towards the blue. Now that little bit of theory, colour theory, which is the boring stuff. The blues you think of as a cool colour on the colour spectrum, and the browns and the reds and the oranges are warm. And in landscape painting particularly, the blues will seem to recede and be further back in the picture, and the browns and the reds and the oranges will be further forward. Green sits somewhere in the middle, and you can nudge green one way or the other, which we'll talk about in later tutorials. Let me now just see what other shades I get. What you basically get when you mix these two colours together is some nice shades of grey. And what I was saying about the colour, as in the temperature of the colour, the warm or coolness of the colour, will become apparent when you start doing it. And you won't see the colours as clearly on this video as you will when you're actually doing it yourself. So there's quite a range there already. So that's just now do a bit of blending. I'm going to start here with a bit of the burnt umber. light blue. So I'm going to show you how you get quite a range, and then there's our mixed together colours. Now if I use the brush to lift out some colour, okay, you can see how a landscape painter could use that to create things. In fact, just as a little bit of an experiment, this bottom image here, let's pretend this is a landscape. Sometimes it makes an idea to do a thumbnail sketches of what your landscape painting is going to look like, just to get an idea of your colour ranges. That could be the cloudy sky. Now we need a bit of a horizon. That's going to be too wet at the moment. Bring in the drying machine. And we imagine there's some background hills. Still slightly damp, but it's bleeding. Oops, just knocked over the drying machine. Now we bring in some burnt umber and blue, and you'll see it starts to almost look, it's bleeding some burnt umber, and imagine there's some bushes there. Okay, stop there for a moment. I've got to dry that. I'll pause the video. Okay, that's now completely dry. So I'm still using the same brush. I'm going to imagine that there's some old trees and stuff here. And then the foreground. So let that bleed into it as well. I'm going to use some very light burnt umber. Leave some gaps. Okay. I'm only doing this to show that you can create quite a bit with just really two colours. Shouldn't get carried away, just trying to demonstrate it. Right. And then I'm only using this rather large brush. There's a few foreground grasses. I don't know if you can see that very well, you may be able to. And a path of some sort. There we are. Just to really show that you can create a whole landscape just using two colours. Now you can then use white to pick things out if you want to. But we won't bother with just this little demonstration. And we're going to use just these two colours plus white towards the end for doing a nice simple landscape. So watch the next video. Okay, that simple landscape. How about this? From a local paper, or from a newspaper, the Taj Mahal in India. Yeah, maybe not that simple. And I'm going to try and do it in the 10-minute limit that you get with YouTube videos. I want to show you this. This is called graphite paper. It's a cheating artist great tool. You can get it online. And let's crack on.